Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome to Red Storm Chasers. I'm Vincent here with Craig. On this episode, we'll look back at the unbelievable Big East tournament victory and look ahead to the exciting NCAA tournament that we hope to have. Craig, good to be on with you.
Great to be on. Great to be talking about St. John's this week. You know, it's our first time doing this podcast when we've been made the NCAA tournament. So that's really cool. It's very cool to get to do an NCAA breakdown. But more importantly, the Big East tournament this week, or last week, was just unbelievable and just something you never forget.
I'm incredibly unbelievable in just the way we played as well. Right. I mean, like, you knew, obviously, Butler, we won by 20 points. We knew we were going to win that Butler game, right? This team is good enough to know that Butler game is not going to be a problem. Marquette, tough matchup, right? That's a game, you know, yes, we beat them twice, but we also just beat them a week ago. It's hard to beat a team twice in a week. Didn't matter to us at all. 79-63. Dominated that game. Not at the beginning.
Wait. I was afraid they were going to be out for a little revenge after our, overtime game winner.
Yeah, right. But the minute we came on in that game, it was over. The second half was ours. Yep. Same thing happened in the championship, which, by the way, is a moment that I certainly won't ever forget. The last time we won a Big East championship, I was 8 years old. So
yeah, I was 10.
I'm 33. So certainly incredibly memorable. The atmosphere, amazing. So packed with red, which is what you love to see. So loud.
It was the loudest sporting event I've ever been to in my entire life. And we've been to a bunch of college football games. We've been to places like that. I've been to Mets playoff games, World Series games. That environment, that moment in time, it was so incredibly loud. The crowd, it was just unbelievable, just frenzied. I mean, 25 years waiting of pent up, whatever. And the other blessing was that it was Creighton. So it was a very small Creighton contingent, and they were there for the week, and every other ticket went to a St. John's fan. And the St. John's fans showed up, and to St. John's fans' credit, were incredibly loud. I mean, there was one point in the game during the run. It was right around 11 minutes ago in the game is when we really took off. And it was so loud they called a foul on for a second, people sort of continued to play because you couldn't hear it. And the crowd didn't even know there was a foul because it was just that loud. And it was just an unbelievable feeling, and the feeling and emotions at the Garden that night was just second to none. Just unbelievable.
There were parts where people said on television they couldn't hear Gus Johnson and Jim Jackson.
Yeah.
Couldn't hear him.
Yeah, I heard that.
Never happens. I mean, that's ridiculous. But this team is just, that exciting. Brings that back to New York. Brings St. John's back to being, New York's team.
They've taken back the city. Yeah,
absolutely. And just listen, there's nothing like the Big East tournament. Everyone talks about how great the SEC was this year. Their tournament is wherever the hell it is, doesn't matter. Couldn't even remotely compare to the Big East championship. The whole tournament as a whole. The Thursday is spectacular, but the championship is just, there's something about it. And even when it's not St. John's, it's just different. The Big East tournament is just different. And, it's a blessing to have it in Madison Square Garden.
It is. And, it's been so long. I mean, how many times have we, we're doing our previews and we're like, I hope we get to Friday.
Yeah,
and if we got to Saturday, can you imagine what it'd be like? And
there we
were. And we can imagine it. And it was as amazing and unbelievable as I thought it would be. Actually, probably even more. I mean, I don't even know I can imagine how loud it was, the environment it was. It was just unbelievable. Just an unbelievable feeling.
So, obviously, the path was Butler. We beat Butler. We beat Marquette. We beat Creighton. Resulted in 2 quad one wins in the Marquette and Creighton matchups. The Butler game, not really much to talk about. I mean, it was just a dominance from the beginning.
Just
the Marquette was kind of more of, and the Creighton game both, but we'll talk about Marquette for a minute. We went down 24-9, right? Which is kind of an MO for us. Um, the way I look at it is this: the first 5 to 8 minutes of the game, we're figuring our defense out. We're getting it into place. We're making sure we're there. If you're gonna beat us, you're gonna beat us in that range. Because if you don't, the minute, and this is very true in the Marquette game, the minute we get to the under 12, from that point on, we're gonna control the game. And then when we
Mhm.
control the game, we're gonna win the game. So you need to be, and listen, the Marquette did their best. They were up 24-9. That, you think that's a good enough lead, and you just watch it go away, and it doesn't go away in seconds, right? We're not a team that all of a sudden can just rattle off point after point after point. We just wear you down, right? All of a sudden at halftime, it's a 2-point lead, and you're
Yep.
going like, what the hell happened? We had a great first half, and St. John's going, oh, we had a terrible first half, but we're only down 2, so that's
Right.
good. And then the second half, we're just a different team in the second
It's kind of
half.
like in a boxing match. We are. It's kind of like in a boxing match, right? You let the guy punch himself out in the first, 3 rounds. He throws like a million punches. And you're gonna go. You're gonna make other shots. You're gonna do what you're gonna do. And in the later rounds, in the championship rounds, you're gonna have nothing left in you, and we're gonna be just hitting our stride, and we're gonna blow you out. We're gonna turn it around on you, and we're just gonna beat you left, right, and center.
I think you say it right in that we hit our strikes. Everyone says like, "Oh, all St. John's just do they're just good defense. They just wear you down." But that's not true. That's not true
No.
if you look at these
Mm-mm.
games. We won these games almost scoring 80 points each game. 78, 79, 82, right? Those are offensive numbers.
Yeah,
We shot well from the field in these games.
we did.
For us, listen, I'm not comparatively to the world necessarily, but we
No,
shot well from the 3-point line. We shot well compared to the world, right? 7 of 14. It's phenomenal in the championship.
unbelievable. Lights out.
Phenomenal. So what? It's not that we wear you down in that you have to play every offensive possession incredibly hard because our defense is so good, but it's also that our offense gets better as the game goes on. And it's the combo of those two things that puts us in a place where we can beat every team in the country.
There's no team in the country that we can't beat. Not saying we'll beat every team every day, but there's no team that we can match up with that we can't play with
A
and that
million
we
percent.
can't beat. And I think the other thing, to your point, it's not only that we wear them down defense. It's not like we're in better condition. We are, but part of it's also a mental thing too. You have to we give everything on every single possession, 100%. Everything is a fight. It's a fight to get a rebound. It's a fight to get the ball in bounds. It's a fight to get the ball down the court, right? Teams can't do that for 40 minutes.
Right.
They can put it up for they can bear it down and really do it for the first 10, 15 minutes. But by with 11 minutes to go in the game, I can't just fight them on every damn
Right.
thing. I
Exactly.
just can't do it. They don't have the the mental toughness to do it because they're not built that way, and we are built that way. And it's something
Absolutely.
that really sets us aside. So I think, to your point, and I think the shooting also, look, all season we've talked about our shooting, and our shooting has not been great. If you look at the numbers over the last couple of weeks, not even just the Big East tournament, that shooting numbers are coming up. RJ Lewis is a good 3-point shooter, and he's been a good 3-point shooter the last couple of weeks.
Oh yeah.
Our 3-point numbers are going up. We're making more shots, and I hope everyone continues to think that we can't shoot. I hope every team
absolutely.
thinks we can't shoot, because we can, and we will. And so
I,
keep pushing that narrative. We can't shoot because it's
I
fine.
love the narrative that all we do is play defense and wear you down, and that we
Right.
can't play offense. That's great. Please come into the game thinking that,
Correct.
because we're going to surprise you in ways you can't even imagine. You're going to be surprised. And
Yep.
just when you think, don't worry, all we got to do is take care of RJ Lewis and Zuby, then you realize that Kadari Richmond and Aaron Scott, and Timmy Wilcher are the guys who are going to beat you,
Right.
because
Yep.
we just have the ability to do that. It was impressive to watch this past week of basketball. It was something obviously very memorable because it hasn't happened in so long, but also, how many years, as you said, have we sweated out games though, right? Even when we were good, we could almost win. We were almost there. There's not a single game in this tournament where where the game was ever in doubt
Yeah.
near the end. By the time we got to the under 4, every game was decided. We were going to win the game. That was, as St. John's fans, we not thought so, right? Like I didn't think we were going to win the Big East championship until there was a minute to go, despite the fact that we had enough lead. I had a big enough lead, okay?
Yeah.
But that's just because we're St. John's fans. We know how things can go in a hurry. But in retrospect, you look back at these games we dominated the Big East tournament.
Yeah.
It wasn't even remotely close. There was not a game in doubt. It was never going to not be St. John's winning the Big East tournament.
Yeah,
Which
I mean,
it is weird to say, but absolutely fantastic at the same time.
no, I mean it's something we haven't had that in 25 years, obviously. And the Creighton game was the one that was closest. There was probably we took over with like 11 minutes to go in the game, and really it was back and forth until about 9, and that's when we really took. I mean, in that game, by the way, we made 14 shots in a row in the second half.
Right,
14 shots in a row.
Yeah, tell me we can't shoot.
That's when the Garden went bananas. And RJ Lewis, we have to talk about him over the course of the whole tournament, but specifically in the Creighton game. I mean, he had 2 points at halftime. He ended with 29 points at the end of the game. He was just electric, unbelievable, just a Big East player of the year. Look, he's the Big East player of the year, and he played like the Big East player of the year.
That's how I knew we were going to win. I knew we were going to win because we were down by 2 at half, or at least we were down by whatever at half, 3 at half.
Three.
And then RJ had 2 points. And I was like, okay.
Yeah,
we're down by 3, and RJ has scored 2 points. I was like, we're good. We're going to be okay. We're going to turn this around. Listen, you got to mention Zuby, too, in the Marquette game. Big East tournament record for St. John's. 33 points. I mean, didn't get a double-double, though. Only had 9 rebounds, but 33 points.
30 points, unbelievable.
Amazing. And also, again, Kadari Richmond. You look at his numbers from the tournament. 15, 15, 12. Or 15, 12, 12. You know what I mean? How many guys, how many weapons can you possibly have? Aaron Scott against Butler and Marquette. I know he hurt his thumb, but Butler and Marquette was absolutely on fire.
Yeah. I mean, just an absolute team effort. Davon Smith get important minutes. Sim does his thing. He hits big shots. And how about Vince even in the championship game going up against Kalkbrenner? And
how about Ivan Io hitting some threes?
Oh, absolutely. Io's been great. He's been a revelation the last couple weeks.
He really has. He's come on extremely nicely. And obviously, listen, it's Ramadan. He's getting fluids before the game, not even eating because he has to fast, and he's out there hitting threes. It was awesome to see for him because he's a guy that we didn't really expect much of necessarily, but he's a team captain, and he's a team captain for a reason. And you could tell when he hits the threes that the team responded in a way that was like so, I don't know, just you could feel, you could feel the love for him from this team. Yeah. And I think that having moments like that helps this team even more. Not that they need it, but it just is another thing for this team where it's like, okay, give us another boost.
Right.
It's funny, awesome.
The last episode that was last Tuesday of the Red Storm Rising, it actually focused on Aya. Just talked about because they're talking about him doing things, and he came with Pitino from Iona, and apparently they have a very, very close relationship. And like Pitino said to him, like, wherever I go, you're coming with me, and he trusts him, and clearly made him a captain. And he talks about in the episode him being, he's always like he's like, I don't always play all his minutes, but I'm so happy for everybody else, and when you're happy for everybody else, then everyone's happy for you. And like he just sounds like a great guy, a great team guy, who lifts the team up. And like you said, that's why everyone's so happy for him. And I think that this team is like that, man. They're just so connected, they're so together, and it's just unbelievable. It's been the year that we all imagined, for years. We've always thought this could be the year. Every year we thought this was how the year was going to go, right? And finally it's here. We all of us said, St. John's, trust me, when St. John's is good, the Garden comes back and it's fun and all these things. And, people that were in the other St. John's community, right? We all believed this and we all knew that this could happen. But people are like, yeah, sure, whatever, man. I don't think that could really happen. Guess what? We're on Jimmy Fallon. It's happening. We're on the back page of the Post every day. We're selling out the Garden. The Garden is louder than when the Knicks are playing right now. I mean, we captivated city, and part of it's the way they play. The team embodies the city in such an amazing way. They're just gritty. They fight. They play hard. The efforts there. They're an easy team to root for. They just really, really are. Absolutely. I mean, they're just unbelievably easy to root for. And look, like I said, seasons like this don't come around very often. We all know that.
Yeah,
Having watched St. John's, this is so relish this moment and enjoy the moment. And look, we have other goals and we have other games to play, thankfully, and there's lots to look forward to. But that's what that's cool about Saturday was you also got to take a second to really just like think back on the ride that we've been on this year and how unbelievable it's been, and just all of those years of playing on Wednesday night at the Garden on the playing games and losing, going to 1-15 and in the Big East, and like all these things that we all have ingrained in our head. Like to go from that to where we are now, it's such a journey, and it's been such an unbelievable year, and it was amazing. It's unbelievable.
It really has been, and you talk about how connected this team is, and I think, look, you got Brady Dunlap doing celebrations great celebrations on the bench. You got, you can tell that these guys actually like each other and play for each other, and it's another layer of, if you play for each other, you're gonna play better because you want to be the guy that gets your guys there. So, all right, Craig, big week, obviously. Spotlight Player of the Week. Clearly, the Big East made a decision in the Spotlight Player of the Week.
Right.
But Craig, I'll let you go first. Do you want to tell me who your Spotlight Player of the Big East tournament week was?
I think I have to defer to the Big East. I mean, I think RJ Lewis's performance in the Big East final alone, and his performances before that, because the other ones were no slouch. I mean, he was good throughout the entirety of the tournament, but his performance in that last game and when it mattered most, in the biggest moments, he stepped up, and I think for that he's got to be Spotlight Player of the Week.
Yeah, his numbers extremely good. 20 points against Butler, 13 against Marquette, 29 against Creighton. I got to give an honorable mention to my man Zuby.
Agreed.
33 points against Marquette, 20 points against Creighton. The only thing that killed him was the Butler game. He only had 4 points. Didn't have his best game against Butler. Had gotten foul trouble there.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think RJ Lewis, obviously well deserved. Also, honorable mention to Kadari Richmond, by the way. I mentioned before 15,
Absolutely.
12, and 12. He's a guy, and 2 double doubles, by the way. He had 10 rebounds against Marquette and 12 rebounds against Creighton. He's a guy we kind of win on the back of silently. He's a guy who just does so many things so well that he gets overlooked because he's not necessarily always, and he has taken over games this season, but in this games he didn't take over. RJ did, which is why he won, and he's the Spotlight Player of the Week. Let's call it like it is. But he's also the tournament's most outstanding player for that reason. But I think Kadari deserves some appreciation that he doesn't get. And this is a week where I think that's kind of prevalent.
Wait, he definitely didn't get it right. He didn't even make the first team All Big East. He was second team.
Yeah, which is absolutely
definitely should have been
by the
first
way.
team.
I mean, come on,
Ridiculous.
Well, by the way, we forgot to mention RJ Lewis, obviously Big East Player of the Year. We talked about that, but Rick Pitino, Big East Coach of the Year. No, by the way, if Rick Pitino isn't your national Coach of the Year, I don't know if you understand what the game of basketball is. Yeah, Kadari got snubbed, not making it on the first team All Big East. Zuby correctly was, in fact, on the first Big East.
And so was RJ.
And so, yeah, of course. Well,
and Zuby was most improved player.
Yeah.
So
also well deserved.
He's cleaned up at the award ceremony.
As we should have, because we were the best team in the conference this year.
I mean, 100%, no doubt about it.
And that leads us into the national picture, the NCAA tournament, something we haven't had the enjoyment of speaking on. Obviously finished the season, by the way, just for the record, after the Big East tournament, we are now 5 in the AP poll. Not that it matters, but we did crack the top 5. Okay.
You did.
Mark it down. We got there to the 5. We are a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament, though. More importantly, our first game is in Providence. It'll be against the Omaha Mavericks. A nice little back-to-back matchup. Us in the city of Omaha, Nebraska. New York and the city of Omaha, Nebraska, just not friends these past weeks, okay? Creighton, obviously located in Omaha, Nebraska. About 8 minutes away from Omaha, the University of Omaha, which is what we're facing offense on Thursday, by the way, 9 p.m. or 9:45, which will probably be like 10:15 if we're lucky. The game's on CBS, just in case you're wondering. it's a 15-2 matchup, right? At which can we just talk about being a 2 seed in the tournament? Listen, typical St. John's fashion, we have to be literally the last game announced in the tournament, right? We couldn't get our 2 out of the way. But just to hear us as a 2 seed, I mean, anyway, we keep going back to it. It's just incredible year.
Unbelievable.
All right, so Omaha Mavericks, 22-12 on the year. They are the Summit League champions, which is how they got here. No real major wins to speak about for them. Some decent losses. They lost to Iowa State and Akron, who were both in the tournament. Listen, the NCAA tournament, there's no game to overlook because
Correct.
everybody is coming out and giving their best shot possible, which is what makes the NCAA tournament so great. The Cinderellas is what makes them great. This year, St. John's, we will not be rooting for Cinderella. Okay, Cinderella has no room in 2025. She can come back in 2026, maybe. Maybe in some other brackets.
Cinderella can be on the other side of the bracket.
She can stay. Cinderella needs to stay the hell out of the West. Okay,
maybe the top of the half of the bracket of the West.
I correct myself. She can come back in the West in the Elite Eight game. That's the only time we need it. We need Cinderella. The whole rest of the time, Cinderella needs to stay the hell home. Omaha is a good team for the Summit League. They won their championship. That's how they got here. Is this a game that's scary for us? No. Is this a game, again, we can overlook? Also, no. But let's take a look at them.
We don't overlook.
We don't overlook anybody. So I'm not concerned. As you can tell, I'm not concerned about this game. But anyway, they're led by Markel Sutton. 19 points a game for him, 8 rebounds as well. They also got 2 really good guards, J.J. White and Tony Osborne. Both average. White averages 13, Osborne averages 12. Those are the only guys who average double digits. And White and Osborne, particularly interesting to talk about because Osborne shoots 40% from 3, and White shoots 44% from 3, which, as we all know, is a little bit of a danger for us, right? The best way to beat our defense is to shoot over it. So those are, if Cinderella is going to appear, it's going to be in the form of those guys shooting threes and beating us. Do I think it's going to happen? No.
No. I think I certainly hope it doesn't happen. I think our defense will carry, they shoot 40% in the Summit League. They've never had guys like RJ Lewis and Aaron Scott and Kadari Richmond guarding them on the 3-point line with just reckless abandon. So we'll see if they can shoot. Look, I'm sure they're great players. I'm not saying they're not. But, look, they're a 15 seed. And I think, one of the things of the many bracketology things that you look at and watch and read over the next week, one of the ones I really like, it used to be on ESPN, it's called the Giant Killers blog. It was like a statistical model and try to figure out, Cinderella and try to pick them out. And they do it now. They're down on the Athletic, but they talk about how, a lot of times Cinderella turn the ball over for other teams and they offensive rebound. Well, Omaha doesn't do either of those things very well. So that's good. And the way that what they say is to be a good, safe giant, higher seed is to get offensive rebounds and force turnovers. And we excel at both of those things. So that's good. That's the good news.
The offensive rebounding alone, right? They're bad at offensive rebound. We're great to the point where Zuby is the best offensive rebounder in the country. So, that's a clear advantage we're going to have in this game and is something we need to exploit, right? Yes. I mean, you got to perform well in the categories you perform well in, and that's how you ensure that you beat a team you're supposed to beat.
Absolutely. The team you're supposed to beat. Omaha's first time in the tournament. Congratulations to them. I hope they have a great time, and then we blow them out, and then they go have it. Yeah. It's a great experience for them, and they, come back next year.
They got weird celebrations, by the way. They're the guys who beat up the garbage cans.
Yeah, I saw that.
You ever look out, if you have some time, take a look at their celebrations. Like when they win big games, they bring in like a real garbage can, like a outside trash can, and they just beat it up. It's interesting. There's clearly something I'm missing about it. I've tried to figure it out, but it seems kind of fun, I guess. But hopefully there's no garbage cans getting destroyed this weekend. All right. If we win, we get Great coaching matchup. We play the winner of Kansas and Arkansas, the 7 Kansas and the 10 seeded Arkansas. Obviously, Bill Self versus John Calipari. As you will remember, he's now a Arkansas guy. They listen. The SEC got 14 teams in. I don't think they deserve to have 14 teams in. Arkansas is probably a team who maybe deserves to be in. But yeah, I think that's a bigger conversation that we don't necessarily need to weigh much on because they're already in. So the question is going to be, who do we play next? All right, so Kansas. Let's look at them first. They're the higher seed. Kansas 21-12 on the year. They finished 6th in the Big 12. They're Kansas, right? They got a good resume. They beat Duke. They beat Michigan State. They beat Iowa State, Arizona. They also beat UNC, who's not good, but made the tournament anyway because their AD was the chairman of the selection committee.
It's just wildly insane that UNC, just to take a pause for a second about St. John's, UNC making a tournament is just laughably absurd. I mean, they're 1-12 against quad 1 teams. Like, yeah, they played a lot of quad 1 teams. Like, okay, but they didn't beat any of them. So, like, what? The
they
fact
have a quad 3 loss.
They lost. Yeah,
quad
they lost
3 loss. That's ridiculous.
It's crazy. It's, you know, I'm glad Xavier made it. Let's just be happy Xavier made it because, you know, hey, 5 Big East teams pretty good.
That is true. 5 Big East teams. We didn't mention that. 5 Big East teams. Us, Marquette, Creighton, UConn. Obviously, those were all pretty much locks. And then Xavier got in as one of the last 4 teams in. I think well deserved, though. By the way,
yeah,
I know they didn't have as many quad 1 wins necessarily. That's not the point I'm bashing UConn on. It's more
UNC,
I'm sorry,
right?
UNC on is that they're first of all their quad 1 win. Whatever, we can bash UNC for hours. It's not worth it. But Xavier has some legitimate good. Is a legitimate good team, and they would beat UNC any day. Anyway, back to Kansas. Looking at similar opponents, right? Because that's, I guess, the only way we can look at it. They lost to Creighton. Good for us. Obviously, we beat Creighton twice. They split with K-State, who we beat. So that's also leaning in our favor. And the only common opponent between all 3 of us being Kansas, Arkansas, and us, is Baylor, and all 3 of us lost to Baylor. So, I guess
we didn't lose to Baylor, Vincent. The guy, the clock guy, messed us up. We beat Baylor. Time ran out.
The TOC blew it on that one. The world knows that if the clock was ran correctly, we won that game. Anyway, Kansas could be a problem. Kansas has Hunter Dickinson, who is a very large man, 17 points a game, 10 rebounds, shoots 53% from the field. He's a center. He's who Zuby will be facing off against if we play them. And I have to say, give me Zuby Ejiofor in the revenge game against Kansas. I will take Zuby every day in this matchup. He's a less good version of Kalkbrenner to me. And I think Zuby goes off for 70 against the Jayhawks.
Well, I think Zuby would certainly be very motivated to show Kansas what they missed out on by not letting him play and going to sign Hunter Dickinson. So I think, look, Kansas is the tough part about Kansas and is that they're still Kansas. I mean, they have high level talent. They haven't figured it out this year. They haven't played well this year. It hasn't all gelled, but it's a 1-game scenario, and Kansas is Kansas. They're blue blood for a reason. So, you have to be concerned about that. Do I think, look, we're a better team than them? I have no doubt in my mind that we're a better team than them. I think we played them, 10 times, we'd win 9. We're just better, but you never know. So you always have to be.
The second round matchup is scary. The second round matchup is scary. Kansas and Arkansas with Calipari are both scary teams for us because we're not used to this, right? This is not our normal footing. Now, maybe I think that's a little bit of the old St. John's fans in the back of the head.
Yeah.
Because I do think that we are better than these guys. But there's always that little bit, when is it going to happen?
This is the first year it's happened for us, right? So we're still not used to this. So, look, we're like, oh, God, whatever. But Kansas is not the Kansas that it always is this year.
Right. They're a 7 seed for a reason.
They're a 7 seed in this tournament. They're not Kansas, who's a 3 seed.
And Arkansas is a 10.
And Arkansas is a 10 seed. And we can get into Arkansas.
Let's talk Arkansas. Arkansas, listen, Arkansas's best wins are Michigan, who only looks better this week because they won the Big Ten. Michigan's a good team, but they look better
Michigan's
than they've looked at most of the season.
Yes.
Kentucky, who's good, and Missouri.
Who's good?
That's it. Those are the best 3 wins they have. Arkansas, you can make the argument, is a team that got in purely on the resume of the SEC, and did not John Calipari. As I said, similar opponent. They lost to Baylor. They beat Georgia. We lost to Georgia. So I think if you're gonna pick between the two, and I hate picking between the two, I wouldn't even root in the Butler game, Butler Providence game, because I didn't want to pick.
You got to beat them, so you don't want anybody to win.
You don't want anybody to win, but I think if you're going to pick, you're going to pick Arkansas because they're the lower seed, right?
Sure.
There's a reason they're a lower seed, and you're going to want to face off against the lower seed because you seem to have a bigger advantage.
Yeah, and I think also we match up better with Arkansas, frankly. They don't have a guy like Hunter Dickinson in the middle, which will be helpful for us. They don't rebound very well. They don't shoot the 3 very well. So, like, those are things where we could struggle or they could get hot. And, look, they're getting Boogie Flan back, who's one of their best players. He's coming back from injury, but he's missed 2 months. So, and he hasn't really played. He didn't play in the big SEC. He didn't play in the SEC tournament. So, working him back in, it's not like he's going to be at full strength and really back in the offense. And it might mess them up even more to kind of put him back in the offense for a couple of games. So, who knows? So, to your point, Vincent, I agree. If Arkansas wins, I like that matchup for us better. But as we said, we can beat either of these teams because we can beat any team. There's no team in the country we can beat. We're better than both of these teams, frankly.
We are. So, and Boogie, by the way, Boogie Flan, like you said, hasn't played too much. Only not the leading scorer on the team by a few percentage points. That honor goes to Adu Thiro, who averages 15 points a game, shoots 54% from the field. He's their forward. He's their big man. Listen, them getting Boogie back is going to be helpful, I do think. Like you said, it could cause problems for their offense, which would be our hope. But at the end of the day, they don't scare me. Kansas scares me, I think, a little bit because of the whiplash of having played Kansas in recent history and getting absolutely demolished at UBS Arena. For those of you who sat through that, like myself, it was, I still have nightmares. But yeah, they're a team who I think in other years would have been a 12 seed. And I think
Kansas?
Arkansas.
Oh, well.
Come on, Craig, Arkansas.
Sorry.
They're a team that I think they're a little overseeded, and I just don't know that they're that good. I think they're purely on the John Calipari SEC train, and that's how they ended up here. And listen, for us, I think that's okay. The rest of our bracket, we're in the hardest bracket, just flat out. The West is the toughest X section of the bracket. Florida's the 1 seed in our bracket.
Trendy pick to win it all. Florida.
The hot pick is Florida, which I think is silly.
Love the Midwest, that never works.
Yeah, the Midwest and the East are weaker brackets. Would have been nice to be there. Also, you're a bit closer to home. But even though we do have a tough bracket, and Maryland's the 4 in our bracket, they're a team who a lot of people think is really good, and obviously Kevin Willard is a good coach. But Texas Tech is the 3. They don't scare me. Once we get past this, obviously it's going to be nerve-wracking for St. John's fans because it's a huge matchup. Right, it's going to be on Saturday in Providence, which will be good for us, benefit for us playing in Providence. But it's going to be a huge matchup, right? So we're going to play Kansas or Arkansas, and it's going to be terrifying, flat out. If we win, from there, I actually think it gets easier.
I think they're underselling Texas Tech a little bit, to be completely honest. JT Toppin is really good. They're a good squad. They are. They can score.
I don't necessarily disagree, but they're going to have to play Missouri or Drake in round 2. I don't know that they get through there.
I'm not saying that they necessarily do, but you have to look at the seeds as their highest. Texas Tech is a good team.
They are a good team. I don't think they aren't a good team. I just
think we beat them. I mean, I think we're a better team. I think we beat them.
I think Texas Tech is maybe the best 3 seed actually, but only because I don't buy Iowa State. I think Iowa State's trash, and I
Iowa
don't.
State's not great, and I think they're actually
Kentucky's
injured too.
okay. Kentucky's okay. They're good. I don't, and I think Wisconsin's a leftover because they played well going into the Big Ten championship, and the Big Ten championship finished too close to the changing of seeding. I think Texas Tech is the best 3, but
That's why we have the toughest bracket.
that's why we have the toughest bracket.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
And I think Maryland's probably the best 4.
And UConn's in that bracket, by the way. Not that I think UConn's that great this year, but they are at the top of that bracket.
Ideally, they would knock off Florida.
Oh, in my
book.
I will root. I don't care about anybody else except for St. John's this year. But that's not true. The Big East, I hope Xavier beats Texas. I hope Creighton beats Louisville. Like those, I hope.
That doesn't apply to UConn.
That doesn't apply to UConn, but it doesn't especially because UConn's in a bracket. So I don't really care. Anybody in a bracket, I'm not rooting for anybody else.
For sure. But the other Big East teams I will root for.
Correct.
But I will not root for UConn. That the tournament love does not extend to them because of their unloyalty to the Big East.
That's 100% true.
And the fact that they would leave tomorrow. So
that's 1,000%.
I give them no rooting in the tournament.
But
even though it doesn't make us money.
I would like them to beat Florida because that helps St. John's.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The benefit of them beating Florida and then losing to whoever the hell it is in the Sweet 16. Now,
I'll play them again in the Elite Eight. They're a much better team.
Yeah, we are. But I
would gladly take them again.
Yeah, but my issue with playing them in the Elite Eight would be the story around it would make me want to vomit. Okay, it's going to be the Dan Hurley show, which I can't personally stand. So
that's
ideally they beat Florida and they make a nice exit in the Sweet 16. So that's the ideal layout for me. Fred, give me. Listen, so obviously all the brackets, people filling out brackets and stuff this week, as everybody does. Me too. And my issue is that I have St. John's winning them all.
I can't not do it. It actually is an extreme problem. I keep trying to let me be a little, objective here. Let's take it. And I just we can beat them. We can beat them. We can beat them.
And
I'm
like,
saying, oh shit, there we are.
I have to submit a bracket where St. John's isn't the winner, just in case. But then I also go well, why? Why do I have to do that? I don't. And then I end up putting St. John's in the championship and winning because I think we can. I think we can. And also, why not us?
Why not us? You're 100% right, Vincent. Why not us?
You know what I mean? Listen, all the time, the Final Four comes out to being 1s and 2 seeds. Well, guess what? We're a 2 seed. So why not us? That's it. Give me the matchup against whoever in the Final Four. Give me the matchup against whoever in the championship. Let's take it. I'm ready.
It's funny. I have most of my brackets has Houston on the other side coming over. And if St. John's played Houston in the finals, it'd be like the first one to 55 wins the game.
Yeah, the first person to 37 will win the game.
Yeah, that's just me. But no, I think you're right though. I think, like you said, why not us?
I literally I looked at it and I was like, there's no reason I should feel bad about picking St. John's to win it all. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it every single time.
I'm kind of with you. If I lose my bracket, I lose my bracket. I don't care.
Who cares? $10, whatever. $25. Who cares?
Who gives a shit? Plus, I to your point, I think I'm right. I'm not doing it because it's not like when St. John's is an 11 seed and I'm like, yeah, they're going to win the whole thing when they weren't going to. We're legitimate national championship contenders. Legitimate. Yeah, that's not just from us. If you listen to all the bracketologists, we are picked by everybody. People have us in the Final Four. Lots of people have us in the national championship game. So it could happen. And can you imagine?
I can't. To tell you the truth, I can't. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, yesterday actually. I said the emotional toll that the Big East championship took on me. I'm not I loved it, right? I spent the 6:30 couldn't come fast enough on Saturday, right?
1,000%.
When RJ pulled the ball out, when it was clear we were gonna win, I was in tears. Okay, in tears, and that was the Big East tournament, which is a phenomenally huge achievement. But then I picture like the national championship. I'm not even sure I could function that day. Not only I wouldn't, I would certainly have to take off of work, but forget work. I think I might just have to sit in a quiet room all day because it's the only way I could physically get through the day until the tip time.
Yeah, I mean, to your point about Sunday, I mean about Saturday of the Big East final. Like I woke up and like literally that was the only thing I was thinking about. Was like, all right, I gotta like get ready to go to the game because that's literally the only thing I thought about from the moment I woke up until I went there. Which we were at the game before the doors opened to get into the Garden. We were there. The game started at 6:30. We were there at before 5:00 to get in because I was like, we might as well go because all we're doing is sitting at home
Waiting for the
waiting
game.
to go. So like, we might as well just go, get in the seats, and be there. Like, what are we doing?
%.
Like, because
What's
there's always
the worst that happens? I get to sit in Madison Square Garden longer. Oh wow, that stinks.
I mean, yeah, I was just like, it's. I can't even imagine the stress level. But I hope we. Hey, you know what?
I hope we find
I
out.
hope we get to. I hope we get to find out. I hope we get to find out.
It's gonna be an exciting week. It's gonna be exciting. Hopefully, it's gonna be an exciting month.
It's the best week of the year always, and this week it's extra. This year, extra sweet because we are national championship contenders.
Absolutely, we're in the conversation. The odds are partly in our favor. Alrighty, well, for Craig, I'm Vincent. Go Johnnies. Keep chasing.